Hey y'all, Iris Guy here. Welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow wristwatch collection review, and want to remind everyone, if you would like for me to review your wristwatch collection, maybe it's just one timepiece, maybe it's multiple, feel free to email me, review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com, and send a photo or photos, and we'll dive right into it. Obviously, I'll refer to you by your first name or the alias that you provide. So today's review is from epeelife. epeelife. And epeelife says, "Hey Iris Guy, thanks man for doing a review. Enclosed is a pic of my Seiko Alpinist, Oris Aquis, or Aquis, not sure how to pronounce it, Victorinox Ambassador, Citizen Eco Drive, Breitling Aerospace, Breitling SuperOcean Heritage," that's the one with the aluminum bezel, the Heritage 2, has a ceramic bezel, and JLC Reverso Duo Face. That's Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso Duo Face. Always been interested in watches, but started getting into Swiss watches just a few years ago as life circumstances have allowed me to afford them. I also have a Tudor Black Bay Chrono stainless and gold on the way from the AD. Was thinking about trying to get a Tudor Pelagos left-hand drive, LHD, as an investment piece, or their GMT next. Would love a Rolex eventually, and I'm going down the kissing the AD's arse route rather than the gray market. Thanks again for doing this, man. Well, epeelife, thank you for reaching out to me. So before we continue, I always like to say what's on the wrist. I got the Rolex 114060. Now let's pop up epeelife's collection. Boom! There it is. So we're just going to go from left to right here. Starting at the top left, we have the Seiko Alpinist or Alpinist. Yeah, interesting piece. It does have a date. It does have, it seems like, acceptable water resistance. And it's got, curiously enough, it has crown guards, but he's got it on a leather strap. So my assumption is that epeelife, even though this particular timepiece would be, well, it's 20 bars water resistance. I apologize. So even though it's somewhat water resistant, it's obvious that epeelife doesn't choose to swim with it. That's why he's got it on the leather strap. I think it looks nice. A somewhat basic timepiece, but something that would look nice with a dress shirt, or maybe just business casual. Maybe you got a polo type shirt on, short sleeve, and you're rocking your Seiko Alpinist or Alpinist. I think that's a good looking piece. The next one is the Oris Aquis or Aquis or Aquis, however you pronounce it. Oris is an interesting brand. Oris, I remember when they first emerged, I was in St. Thomas. No. I was in Providenciales in Turks and Caicos, and I went into an authorized dealer that had Oris. I had never handled one until that point in time, but they're a very well-made wristwatch. Their build quality is very nice. Now, he's got his on a rubber strap, but you can get an Oris on a stainless bracelet as well. They're very nice timepieces, and the value, if you're concerned with the possibility of potential price appreciation over time, the value of Oris, especially the Aquis or Aquis, however you say it, has been quite, it's not Rolex strong or Patek Philippe strong, but it's seemed to appreciate a little bit over time. So, a well-made Swiss timepiece with acceptable water resistance. This one has 300 meters. So 300 meters, and it says 30 bars. So the other one, the previous one we looked at, the Seiko Alpinist, is 20 bars. So 20 bars, I think, would be 660 feet, if I'm thinking correctly. And then this one, the Oris, is 300 meters, 30 bars, which would be 1,000 feet, I'm pretty sure. So very good water resistance. If you're down under that much water, you got more problems than whether or not your Oris Aquis can handle the the pressure. So yeah, nice Nice wear anywhere swim watch. Obviously, since he's got it on the rubber strap, I'm sure he swims with this. I'm sure epeelife swims with this piece. He probably takes it to the beach. He probably takes it to the hot tub. He's going down to the beach, and there's all these ladies in the hot tub, and he's like, mind if I join y'all? And they're like, sure. What's that on your wrist? And epeelife is at, oh, that is my Oris Aquis, or a key, or however he wants to say it. And then the ladies are like, hop on in. And they're like, is that a rubber strap? And epeelife is like, yeah, it is. So, you know, great piece, looks nice. Looking at it in closer detail here, it looks like it has a small seconds around the 9 o'clock position, and also the date. That's an interesting setup for a date. There's an inner part of the dial that has the date surrounding it, and instead of using a pointer type date, it's got a little, see that little, looks like in this photo, kind of an orangey thing. It's currently on the what is that, the 20th? Yeah, that would be the 20th. So it's interesting how it displays the date. Obviously, it does have crown guards. That's nice. You know, if you accidentally bang your watch into the desk or something, it may better prevent the crown from becoming dislodged. Also, if you're diving off the side of a boat, and it's like, oh, you know, you hit the side of the boat with your wristwatch instead of hitting the crown, it may just hit the crown guards and not dislodge the crown. So that's nice to have. Okay, now we're hopping over to the next piece in epeelife's collection here. And this one is and I've got to keep refreshing myself. I know it's a Victorinox Ambassador. Curiously enough, some of my first wristwatches were Victorinox, and let's see, I had Victorinox, I had Winger, and I had some Seikos, and sadly I had some Invictas. But these Victorinox, Winger, and Seiko were always a very well respected piece. So on your Victorinox, you've got a date at the 6 o'clock position. You've got the day at the 12 o'clock position. You've got a seconds hand. And let's see, what is 13, 14, 16? Oh, I guess that's military time in the middle. And it's got a Jubilee-looking bracelet. Does not have crown guards, and I'm assuming this would not be a piece, even though it may possess decent water resistance. I don't think this would be a piece that you would want to swim with. And it's probably something you would wear, you know, probably not too expensive of a timepiece, something you could wear casually, something that, because of the bracelet, you could wear it with a collared shirt or maybe a suit. You know, you don't want to you know, seem snobby or whatever. You're just like, hey man, you know, what's that watch? And you're like, it's a Victorinox. And you're like, cool dude, is that a Swiss watch? And you're like, yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's that kind of watch. Nothing wrong with it. Looks nice. Very basic. The next one is the Citizen. Let's see, Citizen Eco Drive. Now, Eco Drive, supposedly a really good type of movement. Although I'm not a Citizen fan, this is kind of interesting. It looks like you've got a chronograph complication. You've got a 12 o'clock. It looks like there's a power reserve type indicator. Obviously, it's got the pushers for the chronograph complication, which do not appear to be screw down. So this would be something that you would definitely want to exercise caution if you were near water. You know, you don't want to introduce water into the watch. So, although not my style, I could see that's different. You know, you've got your chronograph covered, but you know, as you continue your wristwatch journey, which you've already indicated within your email to me, you've got a Tudor Black Bay chrono, stainless and gold on the way. So you've already decided that, hey man, this chronograph is just not cutting the mustard. And you know, you may keep it. You may be the person that keeps your wristwatches, but I have a feeling when you get that Tudor Black Bay chrono, that this thing right here, this Citizen, he'll probably never wear again. But again, it's a wristwatch journey. You know, you start small and you level up. And you know, this is a great. Your entire top row is a great starter collection. I mean, obviously probably the one that is the best in the top row would be the Oris, and then the other, I would say the second best would probably be the Seiko. Third, the Victorinox, and then fourth would be the, and this is just my opinion, fourth would be the Citizen. Now we're going to jump down to the bottom row, and we're going to explore these. So we've got the, let's see, that bottom left one. Let's see, what is that? I know the second one is a Breitling Aerospace. The third one is a Breitling SuperOcean Heritage 1. And then the last one is a Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso Duo Face. But what is that first one? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you gave me 7 watches, listed 7 watches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But you didn't name that one. So you probably did that intentionally because you want me to look at it and say, what is it? Here's what I'm going to say. And I don't want to offend you, but if I do, you know, it's all in good fun. I mean, that's what these reviews are about. That, with the skeletonized movement, this timepiece just looks like, I'll tell you how I see it. It looks like something you probably got off of something like eBay or maybe some sort of discount website, and you're like, man, that looks cool because you can see it's skeletonized. You know, that looks like an expensive wristwatch. In reality, and I don't know what the brand of this is, the 6 o'clock position just says auto movement. I mean, I would, just looking at this, looking at the dial finishing, looking at how crude the exposed movement looks, I would say this is probably just a few, you probably spent just a few bucks for this. And you probably got it from a discount site. You might have picked it up from a thrift store's discount bin. I don't know where you got this, but I could see what you wanted. You're like, oh man, that's cool. You know, it's a skeletonized movement. That looks cool, and people won't really know what it is. And maybe you don't care what other people, I don't care what people think about wristwatches. I don't care what people think about my wristwatches, because what I wear is what I want to wear. But, you know, when you were looking at this, you were probably like, either you thought for yourself, that would be cool. I had the same thing happen. This was one of my biggest wristwatch mistakes. I purchased a Baume & Mercier Clasima Executives. And just because it had a partially exposed movement, and I could see in there, I'm like, man, that's so cool. I didn't realize what I was buying was basically a fashion watch. And fortunately, I was able to exit. And again, I'm not a flipper, but fortunately, I was able to exit that Baume & Mercier. Actually, I made a small profit on it, which was deeply unexpected. But I got out of that. But I was kind of having the same I was probably in the same frame of mind you were with this. You wanted something skeletonized. You know, you're addicted to this. I mean, look at your box, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 12 slots. That says you're serious about this and you want to grow. And I'll tell you, as this collection grows, you got to get rid of that thing. And I don't know what it is. Comment below and tell me, but you got to get rid of that. That's not even something you would keep. I mean, I could see you keeping the top row. I mean, those pieces are probably significant of the start of your wristwatch journey. But this little thing in the bottom left, man, that's just, I'll just call it like I see, it's junk. It is junk. So yeah, get rid of that one. And that's probably why you didn't even list it, because, you know, we're going to move on here. We're going to go on to the Breitling. Now, this is the Breitling Aerospace. So these were pretty, there for a while, having this kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's kind of analog and digital. I guess that's the best way to put it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of anything that's not automatic. And automatic could be, I'm not a fan of anything that's not mechanical. I mean, I wear manual wind wristwatches. I wear automatics that, you know, recharge when you wear them and move your wrist. Would I wear the Breitling? No. But these were popular many years ago. Probably what happened, if you bought this at an authorized dealer, I don't think you did. You probably bought it off eBay or some sort of discount wristwatch site. You wanted a Breitling, but you were shopping for it, and you're trying to get the cheapest one you can probably get. And probably what sold you on this was it's a Breitling. And then the other thing is it had those little pieces of gold at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 position. And then it's on this cheap looking, I guess that's a leather strap. I don't know. But you wanted a Breitling, and you got that, and you probably regret it, and you probably want to get rid of it, but it probably wouldn't even be worth your time to try to sell it or trade it because it's probably not that desirable. So that's kind of where you are on that one. So then you got your first real watch. I'm assuming you probably got the Breitling SuperOcean Heritage. Now, wait a minute, and I may be wrong. I'm looking at your photo of the Breitling SuperOcean Heritage. I've got a few questions. Is this a SuperOcean Heritage? Does it have an aluminum bezel insert, or is it the SuperOcean Heritage 2 with the ceramic bezel insert? Looking at the photo, the shine in the photo, it almost looks like it's ceramic. It looks glossier. The Heritage 1, which has aluminum bezel, has a more matte type look to it. So, you know, that I'm curious about. Either way, whether it's Heritage 1 SuperOcean or Heritage 2 SuperOcean, you did things right with that. You got a black dial. You got the shark mesh, which only buy this particular timepiece on the shark mesh. And it looks like, looking at the size, I think you got the 42. Am I correct? Well, let's see. I can compare it to your other pieces visually here. Yeah, that looks like the 42 because the 44 has a subtle difference with the dial. And I know this because I own the Breitling SuperOcean Heritage 2 in blue with shark mesh in 42 millimeters. And I also tried on the 44. But the 42 is where it's at. And it looks like that's what you got. This was a great choice. This Breitling probably will become a future classic, mark my words. Now, as you know, the lume on the hands and the dial is pitiful. That's my only complaint about this Breitling, is the lume is pitiful. Absolutely unacceptable. But you get 220 meters, or 200 meters, 660 feet of water resistance. Proper water resistance with a screw-down crown, no crown guard. So be careful, man. Don't jump off that side of the boat and hit your crown. So yeah, that's a great choice. I'm assuming that's probably your first true higher-end wristwatch. And then you got a great, just a classic over here. Awesome that you can wear rectangular wristwatches. A lot of people can't. I was going to get a Reverso. I couldn't because rectangular on my wrist just felt funny and looked funny. But if you can wear it, it feels comfortable, it looks good. Reverso is where it's at. Reverso is Jaeger LeCoultre's most popular reference, in my opinion. And people out there don't know what Jaeger LeCoultre is. Jaeger LeCoultre, they do what's called 1,000 hours master control testing. So they don't submit to the COSC, to my knowledge, so it's not a certified chronometer. But what they do is more rigorous. They test their movements within the actual watch case. So this movement in this watch was tested within this particular watch for 1,000 hours. And they evaluated the timekeeping capabilities. Is it meet or exceed their requirements? Super high-end wristwatch movement manufacturer that also makes wristwatches. And I say that because when you think of Jaeger LeCoultre, you think of it's a movement maker's watch. They make outstanding movements. They made movements for an abundance of the top-tier high horology brands. So although Jaeger LeCoultre is known for its movement, it's also known for making quite a few references that are very nice. Primarily dress watches, although they do have some that are dive watches. I've never been a fan of JLC dive watches just because they're not rugged enough. They're not rugged enough to be a tool watch. So, you know, with that being said, the whole JLC thing is great, and you made a great choice. I mean, Jaeger LeCoultre, if you're only going to own one, Reverso is where it's at. Reverso is the Jaeger LeCoultre that you want. So you made an outstanding choice. This one has a small seconds at the 6 o'clock position. And what a lot of people that are watching this may not know is that, now you said it's JLC Reverso Duo Face. So with that being said, I wonder if, and you didn't send me a photo of the back, is the back a solid piece of stainless steel, or does it have another face on the rear? Does it have another watch face? Because some of these Reversos, on one side, they have the watch face like you can see in your photo, and some of the Reversos on the other side also have another watch face, but some of them just have stainless steel on the back. The whole thing is, this was a watch for polo players. So when they were playing polo, they would flip around the watch face so that it would be stainless steel. If they made impact with something, it wouldn't be making impact with the sapphire. It would be making impact with the case back. So just something interesting. You probably already knew that. You probably also knew that LeCoultre, they made the Atmos, which is a desktop clock that charges itself with atmospheric pressure fluctuations. So that's pretty neat. You know, something cool to tell people if you're talking about Jaeger LeCoultre. It's like, man, what is Jaeger LeCoultre? What is JJ LeCoultre? What is JJ LeCoultre? And you can say, Jaeger LeCoultre is a very high-end wristwatch movement manufacturer. Their claim to fame is the Reverso. And did you know that they also make it's called an Atmos that operates based upon atmospheric pressure fluctuations? And they'd be like, whoa, yeah. Yeah, I was at Tourneau in New York City back before this virus came through, and I was at Tourneau, and I was in the JJ LeCoultre booth, and I was actually in there with a Swiss citizen, somebody that I know that's from Switzerland. And I started talking. They're like, "Are you familiar with JJ LeCoultre?" And I said, "Actually, yeah." And I started talking about master control, and then I mentioned the Atmos. They're like, "Man, you are familiar with JJ LeCoultre." I'm like, "Thanks." They make great pieces. That out of all your pieces, that is your best dress watch. And of course, the Breitling SuperOcean, which I think is the Breitling SuperOcean Heritage 2, correct me if I'm wrong, that's your best tool watch. So if I was you and you don't have any sort of attachment to any of these pieces, I would get rid of the Seiko. I'd get rid of everything except I'd keep the Oris. I think that's a good, just a beater watch, wear and don't really care, wear and don't care. And then I would keep the Breitling SuperOcean Heritage 2. Again, correct me if it's a 1. And then I would never let go of that Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso. So, yeah, you've done things right. Now let's and like I said, you've got the Tudor Black Bay Chrono, stainless and gold on the way. You're gonna love that. The Tudor. I've got the inverted panda, the Tudor Black Bay Chrono Reverse Panda, or Tudor Black Bay Chrono Inverted Panda, and it's a great piece. And you were also thinking about getting into the Tudor Pelagos LHD as an investment piece of their GMT. Honestly, if you could get it, I wouldn't go with it, even though the Tudor Pelagos LHD left-hand drive is probably something that you'll probably appreciate. You said investment piece, which probably means you're probably never going to wear it. And that's something I would, obviously left-hand drive, if you're right-handed and you're wearing your watch on the left hand, you would have the crown going up your wrist instead of down towards your hand. So that could be kind of wonky. And keep in mind, it's made out of, the Pelagos is made out of titanium. So if you're wanting a watch, like your SuperOcean Heritage 2 or your Oris Aquis, something that has that heft, which we often associate subconsciously with quality, you're not going to get that feel from the Pelagos on the wrist. I tried on the Pelagos, not the LHD, but just the regular, both blue and black variations at a Tudor authorized dealer in Turks and Caicos, and just the weight immediately. And granted, maybe it was because I had been wearing my Ulysses Nardin Maxi Marine Diver, which is a 42.7 millimeter stainless steel wristwatch with stainless bracelet. Maybe it's because I'd just taken that off and immediately put on the two different Pelagoses. But just the weight, since it's titanium, I couldn't deal with it. So if I was going to get one of those as a potential investment piece, and again, I never say that wristwatches are an investment. Anything could potentially rise and anything could potentially plummet. There's no sense of certainty there. But if I was going to get a Pelagos, something that you would hold on to and potentially increase in value, I would look at the Tudor Pelagos FXD, the Marine Nationale. Now, it doesn't come on a bracelet. There's not a bracelet option, but at least currently I think it comes with 2 straps. And that piece, I think it's really going to do well. And the other thing you said, or their GMT. I'm assuming if you got the Tudor Black Bay GMT, which is a Tudor Black Bay Pepsi, I'm assuming if you got that, that's probably one you would wear because you need a GMT complication in your rotation. Now, I'll caution you about the Tudor Black Bay GMT. If you've never put it on your wrist, now the Tudor Black Bay Chrono, even though it's 41 millimeters, everything feels proportional. I like it. I like the Tudor Black Bay Chrono. The Tudor Black Bay GMT feels too large. The case is too tall. It just feels too large on the wrist. That's my opinion. I would encourage you to try that on before you dive into the GMT. Actually, something I'm excited about is the possibility of Tudor releasing a Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. If they release that, I'm going to pick one up because I like, even though I've got a 7.5-inch wrist, I like wearing my Tudor Black Bay 58 Navy and then also the Rolex Submariner in 40 millimeter. I can go between those two. They're just completely different looks and feels on the wrist. Both feel great. But I would personally, you got to try on that Black Bay GMT to make sure it just doesn't feel like a hockey puck on your wrist. So again, personal preference. Everybody has their own wristwatch preferences. So I'm not striking at anyone's preferences. And you said you would love to get a Rolex eventually, going down, kissing the AD's arse route rather than the gray market. I think the AD is the way to go. Obviously, you're suggesting that you want a Rolex because you're getting the Tudor Black Bay Chrono stainless and gold. So that's a potentially a good way to get in good grace with the authorized dealer to where possibly you might be able to get a Rolex. Rolexes you can't lose, man. I mean those things. I mean anything's possible, but historically the values have continued to go up, 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 up. Rolex is continuing to go up, 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 up market, super up market, and Tudor is following. Tudor obviously is Rolex's sister brand, and there's nothing wrong. Don't think of Tudor as a compromise. Don't think of Tudor as something that you got to buy if you want to get a Rolex. But it's not a compromise. And again, I'll go as far as to say that I think Tudor is going to replace Rolex in a few years. Rolex is going to be so up market that, even if they did have stock in the authorized dealers, that it's not going to be price accessible by most. Tudor would then fill what was once Rolex as far as price is concerned. And and you're going to laugh at me, but I think that the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation may create a third brand, a tertiary brand. They got Rolex, they got Tudor. What would be the third? If you were the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation and you were sitting in a board meeting and it's like, Swiss people, they're talking, I can't do a Swiss accent, but they'd be talking in the boardroom. They'd say, well, we got Rolex. Let's just make it sound really country. You got Rolex. Well, our Rolex are so expensive now and we can't ramp up our production. So we got to come up with something, to make these things more plentiful. We don't want to ramp up our production, so we'll just increase our prices, man. So they continue to ramp up the prices of the Rolex. And then they start talking about Tudor, and this guy that's in the room talking about Tudor, he's like, yeah, man, Tudor's really doing well. We got Tudors and all the authorized dealers, but guess what? Tudor's starting to get in short supply now too. And people are coming in to buy Tudor and they don't want Rolex. That's interesting. So now Tudor is not only increasing in price, but it's also becoming more desirable, or as desirable as Rolex, in the eyes of many customers. So what happens when Tudor enters the same phase that Rolex is in right now, where you can't get the Tudors? I mean, the Tudors now, especially the Black Bay Chrono and the Tudor Black Bay 58, those are often hard to find at retail. So, I mean, not as hard as finding a Rolex, but they're still difficult to source. So it only makes sense that the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, in my opinion, would need to release a third brand. And that's just kind of like, look at Rolex as people that have a bunch of disposable money. Look at Tudor as people that want a really nice wristwatch. I mean, to buy a Tudor today would be a financial stretch like buying a Rolex was 10 or 15 years ago, because of the annual increases and just the overall. I mean, it's insane how upmarket Rolex has gotten already. And even the entry level Rolex, the Oyster Perpetual, those are selling for more than their sports. A lot of their stainless steel sports Rolexes sold for 10 or 15 years ago. So, and maybe not even that long ago. I mean, I don't track the prices that granularly, but it's just, it's interesting. And I think you keep that relationship with that authorized dealer. I would personally, and again, there's people that like the secondary market. Sometimes you got to use the secondary market because sometimes you just can't. It's a discontinued reference. You're not going to find new old stock in any authorized dealer. So in some scenarios, the secondary market is your only option. But I think for Rolex, not just because of how insane the secondary market Rolex prices are, but just knowing that you've acquired that Rolex from that authorized dealer, you know that everything's 100% correct. You know that you've got the authorized dealer, whatever international warranty Rolex provides with that purchase brand new. That's the way to do it. Take your time, get what you want, and just stay in, don't let the authorized dealer make you buy more Tudors than you want to buy, though. And nothing wrong with buying Tudors. Tudors are good. But again, be careful about Tudor. Obviously, stick with the Tudor Black Bay Chronos. Stick with Black Bay 58. Possibly a Pelagos. But outside of that with Tudor, I would be very careful, except maybe the discontinued North Flag, which is discontinued, so you're not going to find that new old stock. So anyway, let's see. Let me make sure I've addressed all of your questions, and I really appreciate you sending me your collection to review. I mean, this is awesome. I like doing these wristwatch reviews. I hope you enjoyed, not just you. And again, this is epeelife. epeelife is who sent me this review. Sent me his collection to review, rather. So, yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, being able to review this, and anybody out there that wants me to review their wristwatch collection, email review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com, and I'll be more than happy to film a review like this one for your wristwatch. It could be one wristwatch. It could be a collection. Whatever you got, feel free to send me a photo or photos, and I'll be more than happy to review it and provide unfiltered feedback, just like I did within this video and all my other wristwatch collection review videos. So thanks again, and epeelife, when you acquire new pieces, feel free to send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to film updated versions of, not updated versions, but new videos showcasing your latest and greatest collection. But that wristwatch box, I can see you're addicted to this. You're heading in the correct direction because that watch box it's got 12 slots. So you didn't buy that. It's like, okay, if you weren't serious about this, you would have bought just a 2 or 4 piece box. No, you're serious about it. You want to fill those slots. And again, remove some of that unless it has some sort of sentimental value or something. Remove some of that junk. In your box, you want to keep that Oris, you want to keep the Jaeger LeCoultre, and you want to keep the Breitling SuperOcean, which I think is the Heritage 2. You keep those. Everything else, unless you're attached to it for some reason, let it go. That's my best recommendations. epeelife. Thanks again, sir. Everybody watching this, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. And again, as a reminder, email review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com, and I'll review your wristwatch collection too. Y'all have a good day. Thanks again for watching this video, and want to remind everyone, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. And if you've got a wristwatch or a wristwatch collection that you'd like for me to try to review with an upcoming video, send me an email, review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.